Court orders the arrest of all suspects connected to the Ambilipitia incident.
Stock exchange on a downward trend. Investors plead that the situation be arrested.
Prasanna Solangarachi issues a challenge over the murder of Bharata Lakshman Premachandra.
මේක සලසු සාගත මිනිමරුම මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ මහත්තයෝ මට මේකට උත්තර දෙන්න.
Opposition urges the government to expose the details of the Dubai bank account of a VVIP political family.
Hello and welcome. This is Primetime News coming to you live and direct from our studios here in Colombo on News First. Good evening, I am Shaheen Jurangpati.
A very good evening, I'm Mahina Bongzo. It's a pleasure having you with us. We begin with a look at stories from here at home. The 31st anniversary of the Sri Jawadanapura General Hospital was celebrated today.
President Maithripala Sirisena presided over the event. When society is being moved towards a just course, and when we speak of the development of the country, the health of the people of that country is used as an index to measure development. We are aware that countries that have seen rapid technological development are facing health-related issues. Therefore, it is paramount for the government, when allocating funds for development, to look into the necessities, national requirements and services that are needed.
පහුගිය කාලේ තිබුණා මේ රෝහල පුද්ගලික මේ
It was said that this hospital will be given for the private medical faculty. No one has asked for it and no such decision has been reached. I wish to ask this from those who make such claims. How was this given to the Kotalawal private medical faculty? Where was the decision? The trade unions, the hospitals and everyone else gave them everything. The main reason was the then Secretary of Defence. Now there is noise for something that is not taking place.
On to a headline-making story this evening. Additional Magistrate of Ambilipitia Sumit Fernanda today ordered police to arrest all suspects over an incident which took place in Ambilipitia.
A youth died following a brawl at a party in Ambilipitia recently, and the magisterial inquiry over the death took place today as well. The wife of the victim provided evidence for over 1.5 hours.
Today the magistrate ordered for the arrest of the ASP, HQI and all other suspects responsible for the murder.
Recording of evidence was postponed to the 3rd of next month.
Minister of Law and Order Sagala Ratnayaka, speaking in Parliament, commented on the Ambilipitia incident.
Police Sergeant Jinadasa, bearing badge number 45120, and Police Constable Saranga, bearing badge number 60249, who were on mobile patrol duty, had given 2 messages by telephone to the Ambilipitia police. It has also been revealed that 2 outsiders had called the police emergency hotline 119 twice and informed that a clash had broken out at the scene. Those calls were received at 0030 hours and 0053 hours. By that time, since the clash between the police officers and civilians had already broken out, those messages stated that a clash had broken out between police officers and civilians.
You claim that the Assistant Superintendent of Police had ordered an investigation with regard to a problem with loudspeakers. So then, did anyone at the location call the police emergency hotline 119 and complain of a disturbance using loudspeakers?
119 වලට දුරකථන ඇමතුමක් ලබා දීලා තියෙනවද?
නෑ ඒක තමයි මම
ඒක නැහැ එහෙම දුරකථන ඇමතුමක් ලබා දීලා නැහැ. ඒ නිසා ඔබතුමා මීට පෙර ඉදිරිපත් කළාද තොරතුර වැරදි?
නෑ ඒක නිවැරදි කළා තමයි මම අද මේ කරුණ ඉදිරිපත් කරන්නේ.
The OIC of the Kotadeniava Police, Inspector HWS Udayakumara, has been transferred to the Kegol Division with immediate effect.
A communique issued by the police headquarters states that the OIC of the Valioya Police Inspector WDD Vikramasinghe has been appointed as OIC of the Kotadeniyawa Police. In addition, Police Inspector DMP Disanayaka from the Polonnaruwa Division has been appointed as OIC of the Valioya Police. Police headquarters say that the transfers were made based on service requirements.
Convening a media briefing yesterday, the Ministry of Defence commented on the Indian naval vessel, the INS Vikramaditya, making a port call in Colombo and other vessels that will arrive in the future.
At the briefing, journalists quizzed Engineer Karunasena Hettiarachri, the Secretary to the Ministry of Defence, over matters related to avant-garde.
Sea marshals who arrive in Sri Lanka to provide security for vessels such as Avantgarde have been trained at the Special Task Force camps. When there is a threat of ISIS militants, is it legal to provide such a training?
There is no point in only commenting on Avantgarde. Avantgarde is also a company that provided a service. There are around 60 to 70 such companies that work with the shipping companies. Sailors are trained by them. We do not need to only speak about this company because it was at the center of controversy.
You said that this is not only related to Avantgarde. Recently it was reported that the Sri Lanka Navy must pay millions in compensation to Avantgarde. Is there any truth to this?
No, we will not pay compensation to anyone. I believe that Avantgarde has to pay us around 700 million rupees for the services provided by the Sri Lanka Navy.
This briefing was not called to discuss Avantgarde. The necessary steps are being taken. Revenue is not the number one priority for the Navy. However, national security is.
Have we forgotten?
The collective of civil organizations, trade unions and political parties signed an agreement with the United National Front for Good Governance with the objective of safeguarding and strengthening the January 8th victory. 108 civil organizations, including the late Venerable Madhuluave Sobhyathera's National Movement for a Just Society, came into agreement on 14 points. Among them were: introduction of a new constitution, create a singular and mixed proportionate system by abolishing the preferential system. 2. Safeguard free education, health and public transport services. 3. Initiate a state mechanism which does not pose a challenge to national and religious reconciliation. 4. Expedite the process to secure the passage of the National Audit Act, Right to Information Act and strengthen anti-corruption laws. 5. Efficiently conduct investigations which are already underway against corrupt politicians and state officials. 6. Draw up economic strategies for agriculture, industrial and services sectors with a beneficial to all. 7. Bring forth a code of conduct for members of parliament and other public representatives and that it be strictly enforced. 8. Grant the public concessions by activating the Control of Prices Act and Consumer Protection Act. 9. Establish an advisory committee comprising of representatives of groups who sign this agreement. We are watching like hawks. It is not being done right. We as citizens have the right to build our nation. That is our aspiration and our future. The country belongs to us. Even though pledges were made, they weren't fulfilled even until the Venerable Thero breathed his last and are yet to be fulfilled. After the President was appointed, something called a National Executive Council was established. There were several party leaders in this council and so was Venerable Sobhyathera. We urge that this Executive Council focus their attention on the burning issues of the country and take immediate measures on them. Not once was Sobhyathera called for this. There is no point in saying that there is good governance. It must be achieved. Civil societies are now forced to appeal from the government they built to implement the laws.
සිවිල් සංවිධානවලට තමන් ගොඩනගාපු ආණ්ඩුවෙන් නීතිය ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්නයි කියලා ආයාචනා කරන්න සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙනවා.
Have we forgotten?
Taking a look at a headline-making story this evening, share prices at the Colombo Stock Exchange dropped for the third consecutive day today.
Now, investors lament that they have been severely inconvenienced as a result.
During the past 1 year, the all-share price index of the Colombo Stock Exchange dropped by 1,300 points, which is a 17% drop. Investors point out that a person who invested 100,000 rupees a year ago is suffering a loss of 25,000 rupees due to this situation.
The number of investors have dropped. This is not even spoken in Parliament. That is why we are frustrated. We are helpless. There were large-scale investors. Some government institution funds are not active. We are mere moderate shareholders. When those are not active, the markets will not perform well. There is a supply and no demand. There are no buyers.
Investors believe that the government should launch a program to arrest the problem at hand and ensure the stability of the stock market.
Anura Kumara Dissanayake, the chief opposition whip, questioned in Parliament the recent statement made by Cabinet spokesperson Minister Dr. Rajitha Senaratne over the foreign bank accounts of a member of a high-level political family and 3 close associates.
Cabinet තීරණ දැනුම් දීමේ මාධ්‍ය සාකච්ඡාවේදී තමයි
It was only at the media briefing to discuss cabinet decisions was it highlighted that information had come to light regarding such a large sum of money. It didn't stop there. At the briefing, it was announced that in one account, there was a sum of $1.086 billion. $1 billion is equivalent to $1,000 million. A businessman who was a former parliamentarian had $500 million, while the joint account of a former secretary and chairman of an institute had $1.8 billion. Another member of yours expressed publicly that he had personally seen that $426.56 billion had been stashed in foreign accounts by leaders of the former regime. Now, according to these information, it can be concluded that the government is in possession of all information account holders and whether these information have been sent to the necessary bodies that carry out the relevant investigations. Do not take long to act on these matters. Has a complaint been filed by the cabinet media spokesperson regarding these accounts at the relevant institutions? Who are the holders of these accounts? Have investigations been carried out with regard to corruption and fraud, and how many complaints have been filed with the Attorney General?
පරීක්ෂණ අවසන් කළ ගොනු කොපමණ සංඛ්‍යාවක් නීතිපතිවරයා වෙත යොමු කර තිබේද?
අගමැතිතුමා වෙනුවෙන් මම කල්ලිලට මොකද මෙතුමාගේ ප්‍රශ්නේ ඉතාම සංකීර්ණයි මොකද
සංකීර්ණ නෑනේ.
It is not complicated. The cabinet media spokesperson mentioned these facts at the press briefing maybe because it was discussed at the cabinet meetings. He clearly mentions 3 accounts there.
වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒතර එතුමා නිශ්චිත වශයෙන් ගිණුම් 3ක් නම් කරනවා.
පැහැදිලිවම අගමැතිතුමා ඉදිරි කාලේදී උත්තර දෙනවා අනිවාර්යයෙන්.
An event to mark the 60th birth anniversary of the late Bharata Lakshman Premachandra took place in Kulonnava yesterday.
Speaking at the event, Chairman of the Kotikawat Mulleriyawa Pradeshiya Sabha, Prasanna Solangarachi, expressed the following views.
ಭಾರತ ಮಂತ್ರಿතුමාගේ මේ මරණය ගැන
I'm going to reveal something to you on MP Bharata's murder that hasn't been spoken before. This was not a sudden death, but a premeditated one. This was a conspiracy. This was a premeditated murder. Mahinda Rajapaksa, give me an answer to this. Were you aware of this murder or not? Reveal this to the country. I would also like to ask Gotabaya Rajapaksa to reveal to the country from his mouth whether he knew in advance that Bharata Lakshman Premachandra and others were going to die here. If he could have gone to visit Duminda Silva where he was, why couldn't the then Defence Secretary of this country pay his last respects at Bharata Lakshman's funeral? Why did Mahinda Rajapaksa pay his last respects only at the house in Javatta but not come to the funeral house in Kulonnava? I was against the body being cremated. Basil Rajapaksa and Renuka Pereira were present there. Tilanga Sumatipala can be a witness. Minister Fauzi was also present. Basil Rajapaksa had a great need to cremate the body. I told him that was not possible since this was a sudden death and that we need to bury it. Then if there was a need to exhume the body, we could do so. When I opposed the cremation, Renuka Pereira told me that Prasanna had cremated Vijay Kumaratunga's body.
රේණුක පෙරේරා මන්ත්‍රීතුමා මට කිව්වා විජේ කුමාරතුංගේ එකත් ප්‍රසන්න මල්ලි ආදාහනය කරගෙන මං.
But I said no. We have our suspicions about his death. Then Sumit Vitarana, a long-time friend of Lucky Ayya, leaned towards me, reprimanded me and said that those decisions will be made by the family.
The Unity Through Power Devolution movement convened a media briefing today.
I do not know if it is Gotabe's bravery or foolery. However, he directly says the formation of a new party is needed and that he is willing to lead it if he is given the opportunity. It is very clear that there is a division here. It is only by evicting the racist and religious extremists from Sri Lanka Freedom Party can a proper constitutional reforms board be formed in parliament. It is very clear that whether they are in parliament or not, they are ready to stir up the people in the entire country and prevent the nation from moving ahead.
බව ඔය කියන කතාවලින් සහ සැලසුම් වලින් ඉතාම පැහැදිලිව එළියට එනවා.
දැන් අපි දැක්ක මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂට කොන්දක් නැහැ.
Now we can say that Mahinda Rajapaksa does not have a backbone. He cannot declare that he is forming a new party and that he will be leading it. Instead, he gets those around him to do so. After Gotabe announces that a new party will definitely be formed, it is those who committed thievery, corruption and made conspiracies in the last government that are getting together with Mahinda Rajapaksa in order to topple this government of good governance.
Whom do you think should be appointed to the parliamentary seat that was left vacant following the death of MKADS Gunawardena?
It should be given to us. It was the unity through power devolution movement that travelled the length and breadth of this country in order to create a democratic revolution in this country. Therefore, we hope that justice will be done for the service rendered to the country in the past. The appointment was not made the first time. I think an opportunity has arisen to correct that mistake. That is all I have to say.
Speaking at a public meeting in Siribopura, Hambantota yesterday, Minister of Housing and Construction Sajid Premadasa expressed the following views on the local government elections.
I would like to tell those in the opposition that this good governance government cannot be subdued nor controlled by your threats. The good governance government is setting itself up to fulfill the aspirations of the people of this country. We are not saying that we are not in favor of implementing the constituent system, but when that system does get implemented, then everyone should be treated equally. If major injustices are caused through the separation of constituencies to create more seats within the electorate for one's own whim, or grant more seats to areas which are disadvantaged to the alliance, or deprive the alliance of more seats in their strongholds, or create electorates in a way the alliance will garner more votes, then we are not ready to hold this local government election amidst this situation. Please remember that we are not ready to work according to the political formula of the previous government.
Up next is our special segment, Think Before You Vote.
We are not the ones who are helpless. It is the people who are. Do not go in search of this electoral system. I humbly request the President to hold this election as quickly as possible and give the opportunity to give our service to the general public. The old system is good, so please do not bring in the new system and mess it all up. If the new system comes into being, then it is imperative that the respective electorates are developed. The public representatives of that area should be able to speak out. Therefore, I believe that it is best if the elections are held under the new system. The problem is not as to what system will be used. Our only expectation is to grant the people the fair opportunity to elect their public representative.
A police officer said to have caused an accident with a motorbike injuring a woman was released on bail today after he was produced before the Matugama Magistrates Court.
Now, a tense situation was reported as the police officer had attempted to flee the scene of the accident.
A 79-year-old woman was knocked down by a police officer who was riding a motorbike at the Amuna Road junction in Nautura area in Matugama. Following the accident, the police constable had attempted to evade from the incident. Later, the locals in the area detained him in a bid to hand him over to the police. The police constable who was detained by the locals once again had attempted to break free. He was captured once again while at a tea estate close by.
ඔය ගෙදර නවත්ත ගන්න. නැත්නම් දිවිනා කියයි ඕක. ඔය ආයෙ යන්න බෑ මේ මෙහෙම තියා. හරි සපත්තුන මට තියෙනවා. ඔය ගන්න නැහැ ඔය ඔයාගේ යන්න එපා. බලන්න කියන්නේ. මේ පොලිසියට අරන් යන්න මේ. පොලිසිය දාන්නේ. ඔයා වාඩි ගන්න දාලා පොලිසිය දාන්නේ. කතා කරන්නේ.
The police constable's shoe and helmet were recovered from the tea estate thereafter. Police officers arrived at the scene on several occasions to take away the constable. However, the locals refused to hand him over unless the Mataguma police arrives. The police constable was taken away in a police motorbike.
The people from Valipanda were travelling in a private van. We did not allow them to take him. The officers from Matugama came here and took him away in a motorbike. He was under the influence of alcohol. As officers of the law, we hope that they would act more responsibly.
The injured 79-year-old woman was admitted to the Katugahena hospital for treatment. The police constable who was produced in court was released on a bail of 100,000 rupees and was ordered to pay 5,000 rupees as compensation to the injured woman.
The second International Investment Promotion Forum of the Eastern Province, Invest in East 2016, themed Rising East, Dawning Opportunities, will take place tomorrow in Colombo.
Deputy Crown Prince of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia arrived in the island to attend the Invest in East 2016 forum.
We are planning to invest here in the country. It's developing a lot, and we would like to be a part of the developing of the country, make a stronger relationship between us and them.
Excellency Prince Abdulaziz visited Sri Lanka. First time to Sri Lanka, of course, that we have invited him to participate in the International Investment Forum, focusing Eastern Province to invest in Sri Lanka. He is our first guest from Saudi Arabia.
As India marked its 67th Republic Day celebration in New Delhi, an event to coincide with celebrations took place at the residence of the Indian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka.
The ceremony saw the participation of a number of distinguished guests from the political to diplomatic sectors.
In the economic field, our trade remained buoyant, and with the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka, His Excellency Ranil Wickremesinghe's proposal to conclude an economic and technology cooperation agreement this year, I am sanguine that our economic and commercial relations will be taken to the next level. We also welcome our Sri Lankan friends to India, and we are very happy that the various pilgrim sites that are being developed, and we are looking at developing a Buddhist trail in India and a Ramayan trail in Sri Lanka that will give a further boost to religious tourism and tourism in general.
But not only history, democracy also unites us, because you are the world's biggest democracy. We are also a proud democratic country. Like you, we hold free and fair elections. And like you, we are able to appoint and disappoint governments. So this is a great Indian and Sri Lankan tradition which links us, because we are all convinced Democrats. But not only that, democracy cannot survive unless there is economic growth and cooperation. And in that, you have been exemplary.
Arrangements have been finalized to celebrate a solemn concelebrated Mass in Latin at Lucius Cathedral on Sunday the 14th of February at 6 p.m.
Titled Musica Sacra, this project is expected to resound gloriously with the incomparable synergy of Sri Lanka's foremost singers and musicians. A media briefing was held at the Archbishop's house in Colombo today regarding the event.
The purpose of our using this Mass at the celebration of the Eucharist on the 14th of February is to introduce this rich choral heritage of the Church to our younger generations, to the future generations. And it is with that intention that we formed a group of musicians. Eventually we will create this culture in the Church, a reappraisal of the beauty of classical music and very specially classical compositions with a religious tone.
The Holy Mass will be presided over by His Eminence Cardinal Ranjit, with a combined choir of over 100 professional singers in attendance, supported by an orchestra of 30 eminent musicians.
On to sports, it's cricket news. Host Bangladesh gave the 2016 ICC Under-19 Cricket World Cup a momentous start with a 43-run victory over defending champions South Africa in the opening Group A match. Now in a Group C fixture at the M.A. Aziz Stadium, Dan Laurels and Jack Burnham hit centuries as the title contender of England crushed Fiji by 299 runs. England piled up 371 for 3 in its 50 overs against Fiji, with Essex Lawrence smashing 174 of 150 balls with 25 boundaries and ace-6, and Burnham of Durham making 148 of 137 balls with 19 fours and 4 sixers. England, whose squad includes 9 players with experience of senior county cricket back home, bowled Fiji out for 72 in only 27.3 overs.
And with that, we conclude today's edition of Primetime News. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Mahina Bongzo.
And I am Shahin Jarampati. Good night and take care.